Hey everyone. So I wanted to, change this up a little bit and show some charts and kind of go through some charts and see them from my perspective, maybe showing different time frames and how it could be a very positive chart in the daily, and on the weekly it could change or vice versa, and even looking at the monthlies. So I want to go through some tickers here. And before I start doing that, I want to remind everyone that this is not investment advice. None of these charts are investment decisions, or should you go out and buy or sell anything based off these charts you see. This is purely just informational. So let me start here with Honeywell. Honeywell, this goes back to 2020 here. So you can see here this uh, rising wedge, and I have this line drawn. I guess I should move it up a bit, but it's just about at the top, breaking out. And the the last couple years have been, higher lows. So very interesting to see higher lows being made. You have the MACD down here, which is a moving average convergence. You have a low here, and you have a lower low here. At the same time, you have a lower low on the stock. This is something I'd want to see to be a buyer, even for a trade, right? When you have the all-time high back at 221 back in August of 2021. That's funny. And the stock price is currently at 215. So you have $7 or so to get that back to the high, and things are looking good for Honeywell. Um, Something else I found interesting back a few months ago was Ball, BALL, the one of the leading distributors in the aluminum can space. So they're going through some problems from what I heard, and they're working through it. But look at the basing pattern that took place for almost 1.5 years. I guess this was from August 22 to February of 24, a year and a half or so. Now you can see the stock just kind of gyrating. The stock tanked. It came back up through its moving averages. The whole time its moving average was pointing up. And at some point, we had a low here, we had another low, and it started testing resistance for the fifth time. One, two, three, four, five. I don't know if you call that six, but five or six time. And at the moving average moving up, it broke through. So that could have been a nice trade. IBB, same sort of thing forming right now. We have the MACD here. We have a higher low. We have the stock price and a higher low. We have resistance. And it's been, I don't know, one, if you call those 1, 2 times, 3, 4, 5, somewhere in there. Now, what I expect to happen, again, this is not investment advice, probably means the stock breaks up through 150. And that probably coincides with rates dropping. Okay. PANW. This chart doesn't look as great on the weekly because it's such a smaller part of the chart. So I'm going to go to the daily. Now, the daily has this nice cup, and handle forming. And again, all the other charts I pointed, to resistance here. So this has a very nice cup and handle form. This is the cup, that is the handle, and we're knocking on resistance. At the very same time, your MACD, low here, higher low. We'll see if that breaks through. And for what it's worth, it had a pretty high volume bar over here, which is a pretty strong sign. Let's look at another ticker, Nike. Nike was just written up in Barron's, had a positive stint to it. You can see a low back here. Technically a higher low right here, although it's very close. Lows are higher. Lows are higher. You can see higher lows starting to form. The MACD doesn't have the same for each price, but you can see more recently the higher lows are starting to form. You're starting to see a high volume bar here, and you're starting to see this start to kind of wind up. Maybe we'll see that chart going higher. Now, if you change this to the weekly, Maybe we can find something else. Kind of go back here. You can kind of see the MACD suggesting higher prices. You had this major low, higher low, which we've already shown, but the MACD supports low, the lowest here, lower, high, higher, higher. So we'll see. Keep an eye on Nike for fun. Skyworks. Skyworks is a semiconductor. Weekly chart, low, higher low, higher low. Stock is in that kind of basing area. When it does break through, it'll probably see some good appreciation. Now, there's been a lot of high volume bars in red, but this is some green. We'll see if that can work through. T. Rowe Price. Looks like I have a pattern, right? They're all the same chart. So, MACD, higher lows, higher lows. Stock price, you can get the gist. To resistance. If ball, going back to ball, is any point of reference and it breaks through, you got a nice gainer there. So T. Rowe Price looks interesting. I started off with Honeywell. Let's see here. Honeywell. Already went through that. The last thing I wanted to look at was the Russell. So the Russell has all-time highs back here. 24.28, 24.30, somewhere in that area. The Russell, though, is still 10, what is that? 40, almost 20% lower than the all-time high, which is crazy. Russell's a major index. Take a look at the SPY. That same time period, I think that was January 22 back here. The S&P's blown through the all-time highs, as had the Qs, the NASDAQ. So keep an eye on the Russell because there's some major catch-up to be had. We don't know when and how, but I thought this was pretty interesting. All right, guys, that's all I had. Have a great day.